live.
All right. What's up, everyone? This is the very first episode of the Burgundy Blitz podcast where we talk everything Commanders over here. And, first episode, just kind of free balling it a little bit. But, two guys love to talk ball. And, yeah, here we are. How you doing, Emilio?
I'm doing great, Matt. I'm excited for this first episode. I'm a little nervous, but
Oh, yeah.
we're
Aren't
gonna
we
get
both?
straight to it.
Yeah. So, first thing I wanted to touch on was free agency so far. What do you think of the signings we made so far?
Um, just going off, not going off topic, but going on topic for the first. I do not like the $100 million that we gave away. I know it's $60 million guaranteed, but I feel like still a lot of money for an unproven player. He was good on the Chargers, but he did get traded last season.
That is fair. I mean, I can definitely agree with it. I feel like it was a little bit of an overpay, but at the same time, Jalen Phillips, he got $120 million, and I feel like Adafe Owe is just a better player than Jalen Phillips is. I the thing I like with AP is that he isn't going out and signing guys past their prime this offseason like he did the past few off seasons. He got guys that are hopefully on the ascension, and that's how you're supposed to do free agency is you're supposed to pay the guys that are currently on the up and up, not the guys that have already had their breakout seasons.
Yeah, I mean,
So, yeah, I think it's a little bit of an overpay, but I'm not super upset with it. Edge was probably our weakest position last year. So paying a dude that will just fortify that edge spot, I feel like is not terrible.
it's not terrible. I mean, I I personally liked a lot of other guys. I mean, even like sign again. This is what you liked about AP. AP, but I don't like signing guys for big contracts, especially guys that don't. I don't know that were more role players than anything. Like Khalil Mack on that Chargers team was the primary pass rusher, which probably gave away a lot more room to work around. Now we don't know what Dorrance Armstrong's gonna look like coming out of the injury season, so
Yeah.
maybe Owe gets most of the attention and he's not as effective anymore. But we it could be a dynamic duo, and we could see I like a you know the next elite pass rushers. But
I
I
mean,
mean,
yeah, for sure. I hope that's what it ends up being, but I feel like at the very least, Adafe Owe is a really solid run defender, and that is one thing we have not had for our edge rushers since probably Ryan Kerrigan. You know,
Brian Orakpo, Ryan Kerrigan, yeah.
Brian Rakpo, Ryan Kerrigan, yeah, those guys. Since then, we've had some solid pass rushers. I know Dante Fowler Jr. had a pretty solid season for us in 2024, but again, he was pretty bad against the run, and we just didn't really have anyone on that D line that was amazing at stopping the run, or even average at stopping the run. So signing a guy that knows how to set an edge properly and is a solid run defender, I feel like already is a massive step up.
Well, going into another free agency signing, I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing his name right. Chanchin, the guy from the New England Patriots.
Oh, yes.
Looking, he was definitely gonna help that pass rush. I definitely will
Yes.
say that.
I feel like he's one of the more underrated signings in free agency. I know a lot of people were expecting him to get a long term deal, 3, maybe even 4 years. Um, but, getting him on a 1 year deal was an absolute steal by AP. He had a really solid season for New England last year, one of their better, edge rushers. And to get that guy for that low, I mean, honestly, I would have wanted to sign him to like a 2 year deal just to see what he was doing. But 1 year prove it deal, I'm not upset about it at all. Doesn't break the bank.
No, it doesn't, and that's what I'm liking about AP this year is that he's given a lot of 1 year prove it deals. You need to prove it to us if you really want the money, and that's the only thing. That's why I said about Oye because he kind of threw the bag right there. But on every other deal that he's had, it's even like for instance, we haven't got him, and who knows if the 49ers are going to release him. But, for instance, Ayuk, it is rumored that we're going to give him a 1 year deal, a prove it
Yeah.
deal, which is what we need to be doing because throwing bag at everything clearly doesn't work in
Yeah, I was
this
just about to
day.
say we're talking 1 year prove it deals. I mean, Brandon Ayuk is the one that hopefully we can get it done. But again, Niners are kind of holding him hostage over there, kind of not letting him do anything. So let's see what happens there.
They might just trade him out of spite, and you know what? I can't even blame them. You sign a
Yeah,
deal and don't want to come in, but that's another topic for another time.
yeah.
I mean, and I can't. Damn, I'm really forgetting a lot of these free agency signings right now.
I can help jog your memory.
Go ahead.
One of the signings that I really liked, especially because he's a DMV native, Nick Cross.
Nick
Dude went to
Cross.
DeMatha High School.
Yep.
That's literally like 5 minutes from where I live right now.
Yep.
Crazy how local he is, and he was really solid for the Colts his entire time there.
I mean, I feel like every game that I watched the coach, which is not very many, but when I did, he was out there making plays and shit. We were talking about run defenders.
Hmm.
Um, he's a very good run safety, run support safety. That's what we needed because our corners are definitely, well, not even corners, secondary can't make a tackle to save their lives.
Yeah, that was a big issue last year.
Yeah, very very big issue. It was such a big issue that Quan Martin led our team in tackles at one point. That was not good.
Yeah, we'll get into Quan Martin in a little bit.
uh, I love Quan Martin. That's my favorite player. Yeah, but I mean, even going off his free agency right now, a big player that I'm looking to step up next year on the defense, talking about run support, Johnny Newton, I feel like is in for a great year this upcoming
Yeah,
year.
I heard DQ in some of these pressers that he's had this offseason. He said that if there's one player to make a super big jump going into next year, he said look out for Johnny Newton. I'm super excited to see the progress he makes in year three because year one he had a solid rookie year. Year two, again he was okay, but I do find it a little concerning that he couldn't get into the rotation even after some of our DTs started going down with injuries. I
Yep.
know Deron Payne was on the injury list there for a few games. I think it was something with his ankle, something like that, his foot. Um, but even when our guys were injured, it still seemed like he struggled to even get on the field a ton. It still seemed like he was a rotational guy, and that's a little concerning to me, especially considering that I feel like he's not amazing as a run defending D tackle, but I'm just hoping that next year we can see a pretty sizable leap from him.
Yeah, I were to hope so. I mean, from the games that I watched, I feel like he was getting like towards the end of the season, especially like that final game against the Cowboys. He was doing
Yes,
really good
yes.
on passing downs
Three
and even
three
running
sack
downs.
game for him that game.
Exactly.
That's
When
insane.
do you see that for big boy over there? Like,
Exactly. If we
and
can get that even somewhat consistently, like that'd be pretty solid.
I think the biggest part with him is the conditioning. Um,
Yeah.
when you're not used to these college teams have tons of players to switch through on rotations on especially on which schemes they want to run. Maybe he's not used to being the primary guy, and especially with those injuries going down, he has to play more, which he's not used to, and that means he's less effective on the field if he's fatigued. And even, but if he doesn't have the best of year, we still got a guy in free agency. Settle had a great year last year with the
He
Texans.
did. I mean, I feel like Settle was the perfect rotational guy where we could plug him in and he'll come in on certain downs and just dominate. He was
Hmm.
he was on the team already, and even then, he was solid last time he was on the team with us. He was just a very solid contributor, even if he wasn't the number one guy.
Yeah.
And back to Johnny Newton, I do feel like a big reason why we didn't see that insane jump from him in year two is because of those injuries. Because you look at his tape when he played for Illinois versus his tape last year, and it just doesn't seem like he's getting off the ball the way he did at Illinois. He doesn't have that fast twitch ability like he did back in college, and it makes you wonder if these injuries are going to really prohibit him from being amazing in the pros, you know? Because
Yeah.
he was listed as one of the biggest steals when we drafted him. He was a projected possible first rounder, you know?
Yep. Hmm. I mean, again, it's all up to the guy, but I also feel like we have enough depth in rotation. As much as would love to say this is a great depth guy, when are we gonna trade him? But Deron Payne, we have Deron Payne, we got Johnny Newton, we put Settle in there, have a rotational, and I feel like we could keep it simple with the nose tackles, and that's why we went hard for the DNs and everything else that we needed on defense.
Yeah. I
Um, I
mean,
I like the Meek Robertson,
that was a
kind of.
signing I was not really a fan of.
I mean, 2 years ago, before the injury, he was shutting down corners, and even before, in the playoff game against him, he was doing good against Terry at one point before he got hurt.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, his tape 2 years ago was pretty solid, but last year, I know he was dealing with that injury, but he graded out as one of the worst corners in football. I was not really a fan of that move in general. I feel like, if we wanted a slot guy, bless you.
Thank you.
I feel like if we wanted a slot guy, we could have found one in the draft. I really wanted to go and sign an outside corner, and that's something that we just haven't addressed yet in free agency. One of the few areas where I'm still kind of iffy about it is outside corner. I really wanted Tariq Woolen, so seeing the notification that he signed with Philly was just a real punch in the gut.
1 year deal though. 1 year
Yeah,
deal.
1 year deal, but we couldn't have thrown him that 1 year prove it deal, considering how many we had already given out. I feel like having an outside corner like Tariq Woolen, even on a 1 year prove it deal, could have been really solid.
Could have been really solid. Yes. Is he gonna open his mouth in the NFC Championship and almost lose a game? Yes, but he's a great corner, fantastic corner. And speaking of another corners on free agency, we just don't address things. Witherspoon, from the Rams. I don't know what we're doing. Um, that's another like I don't know. I get it. Nick Cross is gonna be as strong, or even at free, but like I feel like speaking on slot corners, bro, keep Standard still at corner, at slot corner. I don't want to see him on an outside corner because every time we see that, it's easy pickings. I like Trey Amos. I'm glad we got rid of Lattimore, but that just it leads me to the question on if they plan on playing Mikey at outside corner, and that's why they're making all these slot corner decisions.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, Mikey's a weird one because last year when he was playing in the slot, he was genuinely like really bad. And
mhm.
honestly, I did see a little bit of improvement when they moved him outside. So I don't know what they want to do there. I don't know if they want to play a Meek in the slot and Mikey on the outside, or Mikey in the slot and Meek on the outside. I don't really know what their plan is there. I'm just hoping that with an improved pass rush from the new edges we signed, I'm hoping that that means Mikey can have a bounce back year so he doesn't have to guard guys for 4 or 5 seconds. Because even elite corners struggle when you have to guard guys for that long, and
Mhm.
our pass rush was pretty bad last year. So I'm hoping that these new edges can help Mikey have a bounce back season compared to last year, because last year was pretty bad.
Last year was very bad, and it made it worse that Dante Fowler was decided that he wanted to just up and leave after having a career year, and go back. I guess he liked it in Dallas. I don't know who
Yeah.
would. Um, I mean, we did re-sign Dietrich Wise, which I guess is another nice rotational player that we could have a nice little pass rush with. I feel if Dorrance Armstrong what didn't get hurt last year, he would have had a career year and been up there with the best of them. Only if Miles Garrett just wasn't a monster.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Miles Garrett had a record breaking year. Nobody was touching him.
yeah. I mean, there's it's hard to touch someone that could beat the sack record, but I feel like Armstrong was on to like a really fantastic year.
Oh yeah, Armstrong was having a phenomenal season before he went down with that season-ending injury. But that was just the story of last year. It was just season-ending injury after season-ending injury for our entire team,
Uh,
including Dietrich Wise. He went down with a season-ending injury week 2, and it's crazy because I honestly thought he was playing pretty solid before he went down with that injury. I don't think he would have been anything phenomenal, but I did like him, especially in the run game early on in the season.
I mean, a lot of things looked good week one, and then week two on that Thursday night football game. That I feel like it all just started falling apart. And but that's another thing about this year is everybody gonna stay healthy? Um, you know, uh, JD especially. I cannot go through another year watching 8 games of Marcus Mariota. I love the guy. He makes fantastic plays. He goes out there and gives it his best shot. But uh, I don't. I need to see a good year again.
Yeah, if you have Mariota starting or let alone even playing in 8 games, I feel like that is a recipe for a pretty bad season.
It is. It is. I mean, who knows? We could have the one guy we signed on offense. We could have a new just banger of a tight end. Zach Ertz was phenomenal, but mind me on my pronunciation. Check Awano Onkawanowu or whatever. I forget his last name.
Chig Okonkwo.
There you go. Fantastic tight end. I actually just looked up his highlights like a couple weeks ago when we signed him. Fantastic tight end. Fantastic vertical threat.
Oh yeah.
Now, this is where I'm gonna switch the conversation on the signings. I don't know what's gonna happen with the offense this year. I don't know. Like, I know who's calling the plays, but we've never seen him call plays before in the NFL. And I don't know if he's going to be using the tight end, if he's going to be using 3 receivers, 2 receivers. Especially talking about signings still. We signed Van Jefferson, and if we don't get Ayuk, I'm very curious on what we're about to do.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like offense definitely still has some question marks. I feel like the most questionable move AP made all offseason was cutting our starting center, Tyler Biotish,
Mm-hmm.
very early on. I mean, before free agency even officially started, he went and then signed with the Chargers, and we haven't addressed the center position at all. I am not comfortable with running Allegretti or Brandon Coleman as our starting center for week one next year.
I mean, I'm not either. I'm not a fan of any guy playing center that hasn't snapped a ball professionally in an NFL game. I know Algredi has done it before, but if he's more comfortable as a guard, he should be a guard. And I really think AAP was banking on Tyler Linderbaum not getting paid as much as he got paid, and I'm not gonna lie to you, he was a fantastic center and everything, but I wouldn't have paid him the money the Raiders paid him. Like
Oh
it
yeah,
was a definitely overbuy by
yeah, for
every single
sure.
means.
Yeah, they made him the highest paid center in the NFL, and it wasn't even close.
No.
So I definitely understand why we didn't end up grabbing Linderbaum, but I feel like there are still some. I mean, even still, I feel like there are some solid names out there you could go grab. Graham Glasgow, the Lions' former center. I feel like he's still got a little bit left in the tank, and he's definitely better than Allegretti or Brandon Coleman at center. So, like, why not give him another 1 year prove it deal like AP's been doing, man? Center is a big question mark. Receiver is a huge question mark, especially if we don't end up landing Ayuk. It's going to be a very bleak room.
Hmm.
Um,
I mean, Luke does come back next year. I mean, he was having every time I talk about it, people tell me that I'm crazy, but I feel like he was having a really good year before he got hurt. He was scoring touchdowns and catching long passes, which is what he was supposed to do.
yeah,
You
I
know,
mean, if not for anything else, he was amazing as a kick returner for us, and
yeah.
that was something we desperately missed in the second half of the season because I went to that Seahawks game last year and I didn't even realize he broke his collarbone on the opening kickoff that game. In like the third quarter, I see on the jumbotron that Luke McCaffrey had a season-ending broken collarbone, and I'm like, dude, can it get any worse? And that was
Mm.
also the game where Lattimore tore his ACL.
I was there,
Yeah,
and
crazy, crazy game.
I remember walking down what used to be FedEx, now Northwest, walking down the street because I left at the beginning of the fourth quarter. Sorry, at the end of third. There was no point in staying. and I'm watching my quarterback get his arm freaking on my phone. I'm just ready to just lose it all. But yeah, no, he was having a really good season. Even the Bears game is what really put me on to Luke because he was having
Yeah.
a fantastic game that game. Too bad we couldn't finish that out. And going back, the real horse in the room or whatever that metaphor is for me is Connerly gonna do something? Are we gonna have a tackle that can just at least give our man 3 seconds? Like I get it, we played a hard schedule, we played some hard, but like you cannot like especially in the first 5 weeks. The first 5 weeks were horrible. They were
Yeah.
terrible.
I mean, I agree with what you said. First few weeks of the season, he was terrible. But those were his first five or so NFL games, and he was going up against dudes like Micah Parsons and Max Crosby and Brian Burns and Abdul Carter, all these guys. I definitely feel like I saw a lot of improvement towards the back half of the season. I actually feel like he was pretty solid towards the end of the year. And the thing about him is that he's still incredibly young. I mean, he was 21 last year. It's not even like he was a 24-year-old rookie. He was 21. He's still incredibly young, played left tackle in college, so this is a new position to him. I feel like if we just set him there and give him some time to truly develop and, maybe put on a little extra muscle since his biggest weakness was play strength, I feel like if we just give him some time to develop, he will be perfectly fine for us.
I mean, I hope. I mean, I, as everybody will come to learn on this podcast, I'm a very big avid Ohio State fan. Go Buckeyes. Josh Simmons was on the top of my board that year, so I would just love to see Connerly prove me wrong and be that type of guy because Simmons, when he was out in the field for the Chiefs, looked 10 times better than Connerly did this year in any game.
For
But
sure.
that's just me.
Simmons was a weird one though, because I remember he had that whole mental lapse towards the back half of the season, and he just
Yep.
like wasn't with the team, and like nobody really knew what was going on and like why he was away from the team. So like whenever he was playing, I will agree, Josh Simmons looked really good, but that's the thing, he had some other shit going on. So do you really want to deal with that versus a dude that asked has done what we've asked of him to do so far?
Yeah, yeah. Another guy Demo was asked to do. Chris Paul, great resigning. Chris
Oh yeah,
Paul was a great resigning.
super happy with that because if we didn't re-sign him, that would have been another hole on an already questionable offensive line with no center currently. Um, I like Chris Paul. I don't think he was the best guard on the market, but he was a top five pass blocker in the league last year. The
Hmm.
only issue with him is that he is a bottom five run blocker. So he's a super polarizing player in the case where like passing downs, he's great. Nobody can touch him. But in the run, like he's a liability. And I feel like that was a big reason why, despite the fact that we were a top five rushing team last year, I feel like you couldn't run the ball to Chris Paul's side a whole lot because of how poor he was in the run game.
Well, that's the thing is that's why we still have Allegretti. That's why we still have like multiple positions at guard because nobody could just be good overall, and it's just one person's better at this, another person's better at that, and another person's better at that, and they just don't know which one to flop between and which side to pick.
Yeah,
Um, like even like Coleman, like they've tried Coleman at what like three or two different positions, and they just still don't know where to stick him because it's just just a big body to try to put somewhere, and it's like yeah, Chris Paul is good at passing downs, but Coleman might be better at running downs, but he sucks at pass blocking. Like it's you need one dude to just step up and try to get better at one thing for like the next year or so. And
yeah.
maybe Chris Paul does that because Chris Paul will be riding the bench unless somebody gets hurt this year. So, I hope that happens. I mean, no offense to him, but that's just what's probably going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, Coleman's another interesting one because he was a third round pick and he was like a day one starter for us in 2024. But since then, like, he hasn't really found a place on the team. And, like, if he's not playing center, I don't really see a place for him on our team at all, to be honest. Like unless he's a depth piece, like I would look to see if teams are looking to trade for Brandon Coleman, you know? Because again, I don't see him getting on the field unless it's at that center position, but I'm not super comfortable with that either.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of guys we could talk about. Deron Payne, he's big one of them, big one of them.
Yeah.
That guy, like as much as I loved Deron when we first drafted him and everything, Deron has become the new Jonathan Allen of this organization, and it's just time to let him go. It's just time to let him do what he wants to do. Great run defender, but can't do nothing when we can't touch that quarterback in a passing down.
Yeah,
So
exactly. And he's been solid on prove it deals, like when his contract's about to expire, he always balls out. But then, we pay him that contract and then he just kind of coasts for the next few years. And it's like, dude, we're paying you a decent chunk of money. Can we see some results outside
yeah,
of your contract year?
well, at least Jonathan Allen got sacks. That's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah, yeah,
like Deron Payne can give me 10 tackles for losses, but that's not gonna do nothing when it's third down and 10. And are you gonna get to the ball?
yeah,
You know. But straying away from that, going into like the really big topic that I definitely want to talk about, the draft. Talk about all these holes. I still don't want to touch offense. I have no desire to draft any offense in the first round with our seventh pick. But
that's fair. I definitely see where you're coming from. I mean, our defense was so abysmal last year. Um, I wouldn't mind a trade back in this scenario because we're sitting at 7. We only have 6 picks for the entire draft. We only have two in the top 150. I'm pretty sure. Um, I wouldn't mind trading back a few spots and getting some additional picks, maybe a second round or an extra third.
yeah, yeah, I mean, that would be nice. If we would have that if we didn't trade for Lattimore. But we were at the win it now stage, so I mean, I can understand that.
Yeah,
But I mean, it would be nice, but at the same time, I would like Downs, or if Downs gets drafted, I would like Arbel Reese. We're gonna be missing. I mean, he was there to be there, but we're gonna be missing Bobby Wagner. As much as I do love him, he was not the best last year. We do need an off ball or on ball linebacker, which rumors are Avell Reese might do the Micah Parsons and go down on the line instead of being an off ball linebacker. So that would be nice too to add to the pass rush if so. Or we could just get another star set of safety. Another tackle safety, tackle first safety that can also ball hawk. Me and you have talked about the injuries and everything else, the rumors going around. But I'm a Buckeye for life, baby. We should draft that guy. You know,
for
the the,
sure. I
the
mean,
best player available.
yeah, I totally agree. I feel like Caleb Downs is the best player in this entire draft class. I feel like drafting him at 7 would be an absolute home run pick.
Yep.
But from what I've heard recently, I'm hearing that even if Downs is available at 7, Washington isn't looking to draft him. Now, it is so close to the draft, so it's probably a whole lot of smoke screen going around right now. A lot of reports that may not exactly be the truth, but I feel like Downs would be a slam dunk pick. I wouldn't mind if we do end up trading back. I wouldn't mind selecting Jordan Tyson. I know there's a lot of concern with the injuries there. He's suffered a major injury pretty much every year he's played in college, which is really dicey. And that injury history, there's definitely reason to be worried about it. But if he does end up being healthy, I feel like he is by far and away the best receiver in this draft class.
Uh, Cardell Tate.
I think Tyson's upside is infinitely better than Cardell Tate's.
Okay, I will say if we were to use Tyson as like a Debo, I could say that because Tyson would be a great gadget player coming out the backfield and everything else. But the big time playmaker, like the big time one-on-one winner and everything else. I mean, I have heard that mock drafts have us picking Cardinal Tate. As much as I am a Ohio State guy, I personally wouldn't. But I heard that that could be a possibility for us too. And I wouldn't even mind Jordan Tyson as long as he could stay healthy.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
I feel like one reason we wouldn't go with Carnell Tate is because I know AP loves his guys with the super high raw athletic score, and Carnell Tate just isn't that. He
mhm,
didn't test super well athletically, so I just don't see it being an AP kind of pick. Um, Another guy I could see us drafting if we decide to trade back is Makai Lemon, especially considering our offensive coordinator does come from the Lions, and the offensive coordinator for that team when he was playing for the Lions was Ben Johnson, the Bears head coach.
mhm,
So I have a feeling that our offense this season is going to be a very similar style offense to what Ben Johnson is running over there in Chicago. So I would not be shocked if we want to try and get a slot receiver that can just dominate all game the way Amon-Ra St. Brown did when Ben Johnson was in Detroit, you know?
mhm.
Um, if they had a guy that could eat up 12 to 15 targets a game like Amon Ra, I feel like that would be super good for the kind of offense that we want to try and run. And Makai Lemon would be exactly that.
Makai Lemon did look good at USC. Did rob my man's of best receiver of the year. Hey, we're not going to talk about that, but he did look very good. I wouldn't mind. I definitely I questioned as much as everyone likes to joke that Debo is fat. He was pretty good last year. You know, better than most than the other previous years with the Niners. I don't know why we didn't resign him. I would have liked to resign him. I know that's not a fan favorite opinion, but we used him. He did good with what he needed to do. Other than sometimes he would drop screen passes, but we need another gadget guy because Terry is get you only get older,
Yeah,
and who knows if we have another injury ruled year of Terry, which we that was the first year we ever had that. So I hope
yeah.
and pray that that never happens again. But and he also did prove that Scary Terry don't give a fuck about. Sorry, excuse my language. Don't care about age. So
Yeah,
y'all, yeah, you did it against the former defensive MVP. I have all faith that he's still our number one. And if we do draft Cardinal Tate, I think he would be a perfect fit to mentor Cardinal Tate.
yeah, for sure.
Two Ohio
Um,
State guys and everything.
yeah, I mean, back to the whole Debo thing. I feel like he was solid last year, considering all the injuries that happened. I feel like he was pretty solid. He wasn't amazing by any means, but he was put in a position that I don't feel like he was super comfortable in because he was never supposed to be the team's number one receiver. That was always supposed to be Terry.
Yep.
So forcing him into a number one receiver type role, I feel like just made him a little uncomfortable. So I wouldn't hate re signing him, but I also do think it's telling that he is still a free agent and no other team has picked him up yet. So, maybe it's a good thing that we haven't signed him back.
I mean, yeah, maybe it is, and it looks like we are learning from our lesson that we're trying to go with a younger team because that win now mentality after the what off rookie. Well, as much as I would like to say is not what off, but the what off rookie year that we have from Jaden, the Superman Jaden. Um, they're going young. I actually honestly forgot De'Ami Brown's back in the DMV.
Yeah, De'Ami
That
Brown, playoff legend.
playoff legend, the guy that doesn't have to see the ball to catch it.
Yeah.
Uh, and also a guy that I was really high on. I think in 2022, Traylon Burks. What a guy! What a redemption story! I would love to see if he got some good minutes. And he won't get good minutes at the slot, but he definitely will be a rotational guy. I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, It always makes me think back to that one catch he had against the Broncos last year.
Dude, that
I
was
mean, that
insane.
was that was arguably catch of the year, man. That was
Dude,
such a good catch.
I was watching that live, and I swear to God, I've never screamed louder because that shit. I'm sorry, that was crazy. My bad. I need to definitely watch my language.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm higher on Traylon Burks than a lot of people in our fan base and probably in the organization too. I feel like once we signed him last year, he quietly was a very solid wide receiver three, and I feel like having him as a rotational piece is solid. But that's the thing. We got a lot of depth rotational guys in the receiver room, but nobody that would truly stand out.
Yeah.
I I'm excited to see the progress that Jalen Lane is going to make next year. I don't think he's probably going to be an elite wide receiver. I think he's going to be an elite punt returner and probably not much more. Um, you got Luke McCaffrey in the kick return game. Hopefully he can take a leap next year, but I'm not going to bank on it. Traylon Burks, solid in the limited minutes he played, but again, I don't think any of these guys are truly wide receiver two, maybe not even wide receiver three caliber guys. But it's nice to have them on the back end of the roster.
I mean, yeah, it's really nice, especially because of the quarterback that we have, the quarterback that can make anything happen in just a split of the moment. He was doing it with Chris Moore last year. Uh, Shout out Chris Moore.
Shout
Uh,
out Chris Moore.
Shout out Chris Moore, legendary Chris Moore. Oh man, what's it called? But I feel like we needed more depth instead of like we needed more quality instead of instead of quantity. Because
Yeah,
last year we kind of just had quantity and not quality, and that's why things happened the way they did last year. Um, and that, I mean, Diami, who knows? Diami comes back and maybe he turns into a wide receiver too, or shout out Jalen Lane. If Jalen Lane learned how to actually run a route without like just going full top notch speed, he would be a really good receiver.
yeah.
But it's
I
he just only does stop and goes, and
Yeah,
hopefully maybe with Blau's new offense, I think that's how you pronounce his last name.
yeah.
He maybe takes a little bit of a stride.
Yeah, I'm hoping that Lane takes that next step because I would like to see him more than just an insane punt returner for us, because
Hmm.
I saw some flashes last year. I mean, there was
Yeah,
this one stop and go that he had. I know you mentioned the stop and go. He had this one stop and go last year that was really good. He just couldn't corral in the pass and catch it. And I feel like
hmm.
that's a big issue with him is that his hands are not the best.
Is that
Uh,
Chicago? Get Chicago?
yes, yeah,
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah.
Yeah,
But Diami too. I feel like he's a lot more important than people realize because I've noticed. I mean, this may just be a big nothing burger, but I've noticed that Diami has been posted by Jaden more than any of our wide receivers in the wide receiver room, and I feel like it's because him and Jaden are like pretty close with each other. And
hmm,
I feel like one thing that Diami brings back to our team that we didn't have last year was the ability to stretch a defense and have explosive plays down the field. Diami is a solid deep threat, especially because of his, top end speed. He's not an amazing receiver, but he gives us that ability to make a defense think about the fact that we might throw it deep. He's
yeah,
got that deep threat ability that nobody on the roster had last year.
yeah. I mean, he definitely does. He like we saw it against the Lions, and we even saw it against the back half of that year when he had to step up. He was willing to step up and be that. I guess you could say wide receiver two slash wide receiver three when we didn't really have one. Um, it, I think you were kind of wrong right there. Jaden Daniels posts another receiver. He's just not on our team. He's not on our team yet. He's just he posts him a lot too. But
You know
he
what? Fair enough. Fair enough.
De'Ami Brown. I follow Jaden and I see De'Ami Brown's on his story a lot, and that's also probably unbroke. Like that's chemistry that you can't really just form with anybody else.
Yeah.
And I bet you money, Jaden probably vouched for Diami to be re-signed. I mean,
Yeah.
to come back to the DMV because that's how much he really digged him as a teammate.
And that's good because you want to make your quarterback happy more than anything, especially considering that this is supposed to be our franchise guy for the next 15 years, basically. We want to
Yeah.
keep our quarterback happy. We want to keep him in DC, make sure he never, ever leaves.
Yeah. The Rex Grossman days and Jason Campbell days, and if you guys can't tell, we're OGs. We've been watching. Those days are hopefully gone.
Yeah, they
Um,
were they were disgusting.
uh, I don't even describe disgusting. The best quarterback of our lifetime that we've watched is probably Kirk Cousins.
Yeah,
That's saying a lot.
I mean the potential of RG3 was there, but he after that 1 year, man, it was rough.
It was a downhill spiral after that, but also that going a little bit off topic, that also had to deal with ownership and
Yeah,
head coaching warning about said player and ownership not listening and yada yada yada. And before we go off topic to off the draft, because I already know we're about to slide in next. Maybe they just fool us all and say, you know what, we need pass rushers and we're going Ruben. No, Ruben's not gonna be there. Who's the guy from Texas Tech? David Bailey.
yeah.
Maybe they just say, you know, just throw
Yeah,
the towel in and let's see what happens.
yeah. I mean, that would be another pick that wouldn't upset me because I feel like I have a mentality you can never have too many edge rushers. You know,
Hmm.
um, I feel like having more edge rushers the better because then you can start rotating guys in. Keep everyone fresh. Make sure the guys don't gas out in the middle of games because I feel like that was one thing that really was a reason why our defense was so bad last year was because we were losing guys to injury. So then the guys that had to play basically like every single snap, and that's exhausting, especially for edge defenders. Like, I genuinely don't think there are very few edge rushers in the league that I think can play 99 to 100% of snaps, and that's for good reason. You want to keep these guys fresh the entire game.
Yep. Yeah, they definitely do. We don't have any second round or third round picks this year, right?
We have a third, but we don't have a second.
I was about to say, I mean, or maybe we go one of these. Like, I'm not like maybe we go defense first, and I'm not gonna lie. Shout out to KC Concepcion. Maybe we draft up. Like I'm trying
Yeah,
to think of a lot of scenarios where we can try to fit. Of course, no team is perfect, but I would like to fill a lot of these holes that make us feel real comfortable with what we're going into season. Sorry, the week 1 with.
yeah. I mean that third round pick that I was just talking about. I Honestly, I would love to see us draft the center out of Kansas State. I'm blanking on his name right now, but I watched some of his film and I thought he was pretty solid, especially for a third round guy. Like if we want a center to come in and compete with whoever we currently got at the position, if it's Alec Reddy, if it's Coleman, I want to bring in some competition, and I feel like that center out of Kansas State would be the perfect competition for training camp.
Yeah, especially gets guys worked up, and maybe some guys think that they're not going to make it out of training camp, so they play harder, which would honestly help our team. Um, I really, I mean, I think I know who you're talking about. I went to KU versus K State this year, and I got to watch K State whoop on KU. So
Oh yeah,
that's probably a really good guy that you're talking about. Third or second round guys, I'm definitely a little hazy with. Um,
yeah.
you know, what's it called? As long as we don't draft Jeremiah Love.
I mean honestly, I wouldn't be super upset with it. I feel like I know we have Bill, but Jeremiah Love is
We just signed
a
White. We just signed White.
yeah, but he's gonna be our third down back. Rashad White isn't gonna be an every down back. He's not gonna be our first or second down back. And I feel like Jeremiah Love is already a superstar. He's probably a top 15 running back in the league before he even takes a snap. And I feel like him taking handoffs from Jaden would just add another level to our offense that we just don't currently have. Now, granted, I I wouldn't mind going in a different direction if they said that, they didn't want to spend number 7 on a running back. I get it, especially considering he's probably not even going to make it to 7. I've heard that, he's probably going to be drafted by the Titans. And if not, maybe the Giants. Um, so
I've
I
heard
would
Downs
be,
might go by the Giants.
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be upset with drafting Love, but I do feel like there are other positions that we should probably draft beforehand.
Yeah, and I'm hoping they have every scenario picked out because now that I'm really getting my mind going, there could be tons of things happening. I've definitely seen some mock drafts where Dallas trades up to number 6 and drafts Sony Styles. There could be a lot of factors going into what the other 6 teams before us do is going to make, and I hope they are prepared for that
Yeah,
because I mean, you never know. Downs and Love might go before, and now you're at a sticky situation where you're like, even Abel Reese might go before that too. So now you're even in a stickier situation where you don't know where to fill or what to choose because you only left with a handful of people.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I do feel like if we do stick and pick at 7, I do feel like even if those guys are gone by that point, I feel like there's still so much talent that you could look and draft with number 7 that, like, it. I feel like they're going to make a smart decision no matter what because there's so much talent in the top 10 picks this year that even Mansour Delane, who we haven't talked about all year, uh, he's been amazing for LSU. I feel like he's the number 2 corner on my big board. I feel like the only one that's better is Jermon McCoy, but again, he's had some serious injuries as well. So that's why I would rather draft Mansour Delane over Jermon McCoy. But my God, Jermon McCoy's 2024 tape was ridiculously good.
Is AJ's little brother get in the draft this year?
AJ, who?
Terrell.
Yes, Avion Terrell. Yeah,
He's getting drafted this year.
yeah.
That's a third to second day guy that I would want to draft
Oh,
because
yeah, for
that
sure.
guy is filthy. Out
I
of
mean,
Clemson,
I think he sneaks into the end of the first round. I mean, he he was mocked earlier in the year as high as the Eagles, but that was before they went and signed Tariq Woolen.
yeah.
But I love Avion Terrell. I mean, I know it was practice, but I saw this practice rep where he got turned around like 3 or 4 separate times and still ended up intercepting the ball. Like
hmm
his fluidity and the movement in his hips is just something that you rarely see in a corner, especially nowadays. I feel like he's very fit for modern NFL defenses where they play off coverage kind of quarters. Um, you know, a lot of these guys in the draft, they're like, very press man heavy corners. And like, that's a solid skill set to have, but I just feel like it's not the way most modern defenses approach a corner. But I love everything about Avion Terrell.
Man, you telling me? You talking about them TikToks? He posted one with all the compilations. That thing had me starstruck,
Yeah,
bro. Let's just say how it is. He was born to play corner.
he
That
was.
it was
I mean,
crazy.
the whole bloodline was born to play corner because AJ Terrell, really super solid corner in the league. I don't he may have lost a step, but I still feel like he's a really borderline elite corner. He has been solid, and I still remember last time we played the Falcons. He just completely shut Terry down. Like he
Yeah.
completely erased him from that game.
I mean, that's what good corners do. But I
Yeah,
mean, I speaking on Terry. Terry has those like what off games. He'll like super like. No offense to AJ Terrell, he isn't who he was like maybe like 2 years ago. He's probably maybe like a top 16 corner, which is half the league. But you have those really mid pack corners. Terry sometimes is just quiet against, and then you have him going against Patrick Surtain, and it's like he's a whole different player. So like
yeah.
I don't, Terry's very hit or miss, and uh, more of a hit than miss, but he does have those games where it's like is Terry ain't so scary, but
I
yeah.
mean, yeah, if we could get a solid wide receiver too, I feel like that would alleviate a lot of the pressure on Terry, and he wouldn't be asked to do nearly as much as they've been asking him to do over the first, however many years of his career at this point, because he's getting old.
Can someone search up where Cam Sims is at? Oh boy, great
Ah,
shout
man.
out.
I miss Cam Sims. He was a baller for us, low key.
Balled out against the 12-0 Steelers. I still remember that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, great guy, but just didn't work out.
Yeah.
Uh,
Now, I do want to take this last 10 minutes and talk about the final thing on our agenda for today, the
yep.
new jerseys. How are we feeling?
Matt. You know, since the rebrand, I haven't been a big fan of the jerseys. Not like that. I do buy them because, of course, I am a fan. I like the black jerseys. I like the old fashioned jerseys. I like repping what we used to be because we should still be that. They got to get the W off that side of that helmet. The arrow going across. They got to get the W off the helmet. Like,
I
go ahead,
I
go ahead.
agree. I feel like the jerseys themselves were phenomenal. I
Yep.
mean, the blacks look really clean. It's something that I haven't, really seen from this team. We had the blacks before, but they weren't really great. Um, these blacks are unique. They got the burgundy in the middle. I really like that. I think
Mm-hmm.
they're clean. And then of course the classic red. Bringing back the oh my god, I'm gonna say it. The Redskins. Bring back that Redskins look. They
exactly. Yep.
I love it. And it looks so much better than the jerseys we got when they initially rebranded as the Commanders. So I'm super excited to see these jerseys next year. But I do agree, I'm not a fan, at least not a huge fan of the alternate logo with the spear going through the W. Um, I saw that a lot of people were saying that the way they designed it is physically impossible because it goes over certain areas that it's supposed to go under and stuff like that. You know, I'm not an expert in graphic design. I'm really not, but
Me neither.
I'm not gonna lie. I feel like they could have executed it a lot better. Now, I do feel like it's probably because they had some kind of contract signed to where they gotta keep the W logo for a certain amount of years or something like that. But at some point, I do want the alternate helmets to be just the spear on the side without the W. I feel like that would have been a much cleaner look for the alternate helmets.
It definitely would have. I mean, in my head, I felt like we should have kept it simple, and maybe just use the arrow that we used back in like the 70s and 80s. But I know they wanted to redo it as the Commanders and everything else. But I mean, we all know, and they even know, as a organization, none of us like that name,
Yeah,
and they and as much as everyone wants to say just go back, there's no such thing as going back anymore. We're already too deep in it. Um, it is nice to see that they are acknowledging, because at first when we started changing our name and we were the football team, it felt like it was a sin to even mention that we were once the Redskins.
yeah,
So it's nice that they're actually paying homage and actually reminding themselves of who they were and who they were before the name changed. Because I swear they were like trying to erase like a whole reality that just was there. You know.
yeah. And I'm not gonna lie, I did notice that none of our new jerseys have any Commanders branding on it anywhere. You won't
Mm.
see the word Commander or Commanders on the new jersey anywhere. And I that has me thinking that they're possibly considering changing the name again. And at this point, I'm kind of tired of all the name changes. I think they should just settle on one thing and stick with it no matter what people really think. Because honestly, I think the only thing that truly matters is the on field performance. But considering that, again, none of these jerseys have any brand recognition on them, it,
Hmm.
it makes me curious as to if they're going to change the name again.
I would say maybe, but the only thing is I was talking to a coworker of mine. Is are these gonna be our home away and slash alternate jerseys, or are we still gonna be using the same black and white one, and the ones that they just announced are all three alternates,
No, no, no.
basically like throwbacks.
No. The white and the red are going to be our actual home and away
Okay.
jerseys, and the black is going to be our alternate.
Okay. Well, now that I have that clarification, they might. You never know. Even if they do a name change, as much as everybody would be hyped for it, I seriously doubt they're gonna do the Redskins ever again,
Yeah,
and
that's never coming back.
never coming back. I mean, if we're going a little bit off topic, I would like the Hogs. Hogs, we were called that. We have been, so it's something there. The Red Wolves would have been better. The Red Tails was a fighter group, or of Indians in the war.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know where we got Commanders from, so I
yeah.
would
I
personally
mean,
like a rebrand.
yeah. I wouldn't mind Warriors. I know that's probably a little corny and unoriginal, but I wouldn't mind the Washington Warriors. I feel like that's got some solid alliteration there, and I feel like they can do a lot more with the Warriors name than the Commanders name, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing is there's unfortunately a dynasty basketball team called the Warriors, and
Yeah,
God forbid anybody wants to do anything that's not original. So I doubt that even comes to fathom in their heads, just because of that like cross branding and rebranding and everything else. I honestly don't know. I definitely hated the days of the Washington football team. We definitely needed a name. I don't
yeah,
like the Commanders. I know people that still won't buy Commanders gear, which is kind of insane. Thinking of that, we're never gonna go back.
yeah.
Um, but one can hope. I do have the retro jersey in my closet, and I can confirm the reason why I bought it because it doesn't say Commanders on it anywhere on that jersey. So I can't confirm. It might happen. I do have the black jersey, the jersey that we wore the first year we were the Commanders with Carson Wentz.
No.
Yeah, though I like the jerseys, but I don't know. The Commanders name has already been dragged through the mud enough, and nobody likes it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's no way you're going to be able to please a certain part of the fan base unless you do go back to that Redskins name. But I feel like they just need to accept the fact that they're they're never going back to that name ever. But
Yeah,
again, people aren't going to be satisfied with that.
I mean nobody's gonna be satisfied until we start playing some football on the field. Am I
Oh
right, Matt?
yeah, yeah.
Like,
I want a bounce back season more than just about anyone. Last year was a super big letdown.
who are you telling? Me and you have been Commanders fans for a very long time. We remember we've only ever seen bad stuff. So that last year that we had that we were like super good, we went to the championship. I mean, it was a fun time. I will say
Oh
that
yeah.
it was a time of my life that I could wish I could relive.
Yeah, I wish I caught at least one of those games in person because I wasn't able to end up catching any of them in person. And that sucks because that was the greatest season we've had since '91.
Yeah, I mean, but that's because nobody. I mean, I look. I will admit my fault. I was not the biggest JD fan when we first drafted him. I didn't like certain things that he did at LSU and the hits and everything else. But I mean,
Yeah.
he made me fall in love with football again. That whole first year. That whole first
Yeah.
year was just insane. Like, imagine being at the Chicago Bears game, dude.
Oh,
Dude,
funny enough, a buddy of mine, he has an internship with the team, so he was at every home game that year, including the Bears game. I was so jealous.
dude. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I would have been. the whole neighborhood could hear me when that happened. I remember my mom being like, "Yo, are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, no, I don't even know what I just watched." Like that was insane. And for all the people that will end up listening to this, I don't know about Matt, but I will definitely be planning on having some watch parties this year. I definitely, me and Matt, I think I've talked to Matt about this and a bunch of other friends. I do plan on going to the first very home game this year that we have. So,
Okay.
hopefully I have, like a GoPro and we get some vlogs going down, on how real Commander life is.
Yeah, for sure. I'm hoping, hoping for that bounce back year, and I'm hoping to catch at least a game or two in person.
Yeah, it's a hope for you. It's an indefinite for me. I'm ready, man. I'm about to get my Oakley Meta glasses and call it a fun time.
Oh yeah.
I had an unfortunate stretch of weeks. I went all the way. I have friends down in Kansas. I went down to KC. Had a lovely time for the first half. The whole second half was not lovely.
Oh yeah.
And then the very next week, I was like, "Whoa, Jaden's coming back!" So I'm about to have a great week this week.
No.
We played the Super Bowl champions, and it
Yep.
was not. I mean, granted, it makes it feel less worse that they won the Super Bowl that we
Yeah.
got beat that bad. So
Yeah.
I would hate to be at the Vikings game though, no bad.
Oh yeah. I remember I woke up and it was already about halftime, and I checked the score, and I see that we're getting shut out, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not even turning on the game. I'm going back to bed.
Yeah, reliving the days that we used to live. Trust,
Yep.
but hopefully look. I kept my mouth shut all this year, so they should be able to do good. Because usually when I open my mouth, that's when stuff starts falling apart. So
Yep. Yep.
you know, you know, j- hey, for everybody that does listen to this, I'm pretty sure we're like a plus 550 to win the conference this year. I'm slamming that. I'm
Oh yeah.
slamming that. I'm slamming that.
Yeah.
So
I'm taking that every day of the week.
exactly. Dallas. Just going a little bit off topic since but Dallas. I'm not impressed with. The only team I'm worried about is Philly, but they have a top 15 quarterback back there playing quarterback, so I don't care. You know, I don't care.
uh,
What did Levante David say? We wanted to stop the run. We did not care about Jalen Hurts, and that's exactly how I feel right now.
yeah.
But it'll be a good season. I can't wait till we can hop on here and talk about the schedule. But
Yeah.
they're just for some reason I feel like they put it out faster than usual this year. So
Yeah.
we know who we play, but we just don't know
Hmm.
the schedule.
Yeah. And, with that being said, I think we're going to close out the first episode of our podcast. But, by this time next week, when we record our next episode, we're going to know who we drafted in the first round. So I'm super excited for that. And I will see you there.
I'll see you right there with you, Matt.
All right, bro.
All right, Brody.